Last month, I met Amogh, a class 9 student, with his parents to find a suitable career for him. They had done everything right, watched videos, read articles, discussed with peers and others. Then they paid for a psychometric assessment as well. They got a 5 career pathways, roughly 170 pages in total, and they still had the same question: what career should Amogh pursue? Because if all these efforts still cannot produce clarity, then the problem is not lack of information, it is something deeper. The India Skills Report 2024 found that more than 65% of Indian high school graduates end up in degrees misaligned with their actual interests and abilities. This video is about why students like Amogh cannot honestly decide a career in the first place, why the more career advice they get, the worse the confusion becomes, and what is an honest solution to this problem. Amogh's family is not unusual. Every day, parents do exactly what this family did. Still, the confusion does not reduce. Why? Because they cannot build the one thing that student lacks. The question is, what's lacking? The answer to this question lies much earlier than stream selection, much earlier than career counseling. It starts in the ordinary decisions a child was never allowed to make. A lot of parents hear this and think, my child is intelligent. Surely that should be enough. Well, it is not. Developmental psychologists Steinberg and Kaufman studied 5,000 teenagers across 11 countries. They found something that every Indian parent needs to hear. Your child's ability to understand, reason, and process information is fully developed by age 15 or 16. But the ability to make a decision, to compare real options under real pressure, resist what everyone around them is saying, and commit to a decision, that keeps developing well into their late 20s. These are two completely different things. So, a student can be intelligent enough to top their class and still freeze when the choice becomes personal and irreversible. Because decision making is a skill, and like every other skill, it is built by doing. Practiced, not understood. Practiced. What matters is not just whether a student can think, it is whether they have a history of actually deciding. This accumulated record is what I call decision making history. A student with a decision making history does not arrive at a stream selection empty handed. They have some past experience in making decisions, probably not very risky, but history makes them confident. A student with a normal decision making history has argued for a restaurant choice, has planned a trip with friends, and managed logistics. He has handled a budget, however small. He has been wrong about something and lived with the outcome. On the other hand, a student without much decision making history is being asked to make one of the most consequential choices of life as their first real decision. Back to Amogh's story, where he was not answering my questions. I finally asked, if you had to give me one answer right now, what it would be. He paused. Then he said, something in AI? Not because he wanted to build an app or software, not because he had explored the field deeply, but because it sounded like the kind of answer a serious student is supposed to give. He said it to end the conversation. Now, that is not a character flaw. Amogh is intelligent, capable, loved, well-supported child. What we discussed is not about bad parenting. It is often about loving parenting. Parents protect, they reduce friction, they help. But over years, protection can quietly remove the very experiences that build a decision making history. A child is told to focus only on the studies. Someone else handles the chores. Someone else compares the coaching classes. Someone else solves their commute issues. The child benefits in the short term. but a hidden cost accumulates. The loving parents create a loop, see a problem, take the action, provide the results. But the loop that builds decision making capacity is slightly different. See a problem, break it down, choose a path, act, live with the results. This loop cannot be offered by the parent, it has to be practiced by the child. Again, not understood, practiced. Dr. Marty Rosman at the University of Minnesota tracked people from early childhood into their mid 30s. The single best predictor of professional and personal success in the mid 20s was not grades, not test scores, not which school they attended. It was whether they were given household responsibilities as a young child. Because even a small household task trains the same loop. Break the problem down, decide the order, manage the time, see the results of your efforts. Now, even if a child is already 16 or even older, this is still fixable. Your child wants to join a new coaching class? Do not solve this puzzle for them. Hand them the task. Ask them to look at 2 or 3 options. They could consider teaching style, commute, batch size, timings, fees. Ask them to build a case for one option and present it to you. Then the final choice needs to be theirs. Same with the school project, same with any activity. Do not remove all the support, remove the answer. Each one becomes an entry in a decision making history book. So the cost of protection is now visible, but there is one more layer. When a student finally tries to voice their confusion and they find the courage to push back, another failure often happens. And this is where the situation becomes emotionally dangerous. When parents offer ready made career options, they expect the students to follow their paths. Students try to push back, usually not smartly, in some cases angrily as well. They question the path, they hesitate, they sound doubtful. Sometimes they resist. But what the parent often hears is not confusion, they hear disrespect, or lack of discipline, or fear, or even avoidance. So the real question underneath the resistance never gets heard, it gets shut down. And the student learns this question is not safe to ask in that moment. So they stop asking the question, but it still lies in their minds. A 2025 study on career choice among Indian teenagers found that 72% report experiencing significant parental or societal pressure on career decisions. Among students who ended up in medicine, engineering, or civil services, 66% said it was their parents' first or second choice, not their own. Sometimes what follows the shutdown is compliance. The student goes quiet. The effort looks intact from the outside, but the conviction inside is gone. 3-4 years later, they blame parents who already are devastated. Other times, what follows is rebelliousness, sometimes constructive, sometimes not. I want to say this directly to any parent watching. The conversation that broke down, the one where your child questioned the path and you heard defiance, that conversation is not a failure of your child and it is not a failure of yours. It is usually a sign that both people have been dropped into a decision system neither of them were taught to handle. And now, looking at all of it together, Amogh's answer stops looking mysterious. It starts looking predictable. The answer sounds like a performance. Performance to stop further questions. So, in the session, I asked him a different question. When was the last time you made a real decision? He went quiet, for longer than most students do. Then he said, a cricket match. He was a captain for one game. The coach wanted to bat first. Amogh thought they should field. The coach was unhappy. Amogh stuck to his decisions. His team won. Now, why does this matter? Not because one cricket decision reveals a career, it matters because it proves that the decision making capacity exists. One moment of judgment, one moment of ownership, one moment where he chose under pressure and lived with the result. One real entry in decision making history. That is where the work actually begins. Not with here are 50 options, not with tell me your dream, but with where in your actual life have you decided something? And how do we create more of these moments deliberately, safely, one at a time? Because right now, asking the career question is not wrong, it is ill timed. Students are asked a real high stake career question before they have ever practiced answering small ones. That is the only thing that needs to change. Mostly, the student who cannot choose is simply missing a decision making history, and if that is true, the answer is not one more video. It is to slowly, deliberately hand back decisions. Small ones first, then larger ones. Tonight, find one decision your child is about to face, however small, and hand it to them completely. Do not remove all the support, remove the answer. That is where this starts. So that when the big question finally arrives, what do you want to do with your life? They are not answering it for the first time. If you are a student watching this and this felt uncomfortably accurate, I would like to speak with you. The link is in the description. It is a conversation. If you're a parent watching this and you recognize your child somewhere in Amogh's story, the same link applies. Book it before the deadline decides your career.